Welcome to our podcasts, Wise Black Nanas, Life Coaching Between the Dash. Hey, what do you do when it feels like life has thrown you a few too many challenges, knocked you down, in the bed, hard to talk about even with your best friend challenges, and it feels like the challenges are winning? Wouldn't it be nice to hear from your Nana? Or a stand-in Wise Black Nana? Well, they are Wise Black Nanas, Sharla Walker, PhD, and Joanne Early, MS, two mature women with over 70 plus years of combined coaching and mentoring, professional human resources, and business experience. The wonderful news is, these Wise Black Nanas are still living and learning about this amazing life, about resilience and grit, gratitude and appreciation, and the extraordinary power of love and friendships, being positive and supportive, and learning from others. Welcome to Wise Black Nanas. Let's listen in.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. Sharla and Walker, one half of the Wise Black Nanas. And we're here today to continue our conversation on questions that we received from our audience. Joanne?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So our next question is, Dear Nanas, how do I start to understand my life purpose? How do you feel like you understand your life purpose? How about that one?
Ooh. Interestingly, I'll start. I'm sorry. Interestingly, um, I didn't really start to really put the life purpose together until I start, getting more education and learning more about, my culture and different things. So I didn't kind of grow up with, my purpose in life is to do A or B or
Yeah,
C.
right.
Um, it, 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 now that we're talking about it, it seems kind of strange because now that I do have purpose, and my purpose is, to really try to help young Black women, go and get as much as they can because I know how hard it was for me.
Right.
Um, but you don't get a class on that. You don't get any
No, you don't. You
instruction on
don't. You sure don't.
you don't get any instruction on that. And my elders, they didn't talk about that. They just talk about being, surviving what I was in at the time, not
Right.
not looking outside of that box. So um hmm, I think if I were to ask my great granddaughter that question, she
Uh-huh.
would probably look at me and say, "What are you talking about, Grandma?"
Uh-huh.
But it um that's an excellent question, and what I've said is the best that I can answer at this time.
I hear you. I always kind of like cringe a little bit whenever I get a question like this or whenever I'm reading something. And I remember there was a while ago, there was a book that was very, very famous. Oh, shoot, I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but it was about finding your life's purpose. And it was a whole workbook and all of that stuff. And I just could never really finish it. I could never finish it. And I just have always kind of struggled with, like you, my life's purpose is, to take care of my family and do the best that I can toward helping people and making sure that I am a good person. I've just not ever been able to put my finger on it to say my life's purpose is to save this stretch of oceanside or something. I don't know. Um, I think it's just not something that I've really ever focused on. I do
Right.
think I have a purpose, and I like you, I think that purpose is around caring and nurturing others and sharing what is me, knowledge or experience or whatever to help other people. But I have to say to this person that asked this question, I just can't put my finger on it and just spiel off, this is my purpose in life. And I so admire those people that are able to do that. I
Yeah,
think,
it's
but
kind of,
I'm
I'm
just,
sorry to interrupt you.
I'm still searching for it, I guess.
I know. I think one of my classes when I was in working on my master's, we had some I'm sorry, psychological class, and it
Uh-huh.
was about the purpose of this, and that's the only class, one of two classes I can say I didn't really get a good grade because I didn't understand the purpose of the class and significance to my life. So,
Right.
and that's really hard for me if I can't see how it impacts my life. It's very hard for me to
Yeah.
to spend time on it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think if I could leave the listeners with another little piece of me, I would say look for the things that truly make you feel good. That
right.
gut wrenching, smiling and laughing inside good. Look for those things, and they might be very, very small things, or they might be big, huge things. But look for those things, and I think, just take some direction from yourself. Don't look for anybody else to tell you kind of what your purpose is. Look within yourself. That would be probably my parting note.
I agree with you. It's within ourselves, and it's always there. We just have to, ferret it out. And,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. Okay, so how about this one? So let's see. I have trouble making decisions. Nanas, do you have trouble making decisions? And how can I get better at making decisions? We're chuckling, huh?
all chuckling, uh, because Joanne's known me a long time, and I'm having problems making decisions whether I'm ready for uh, the consequences if they were right or wrong. So I'm a big risk taker. Um, but what I would say is that if you have trouble making decisions, you really want to really take some time to think about and research, not a lot of time, what what you want to do, what you want to make the decision on.
Uh-huh. Right,
Um, and consult with the right people. Everyone, you can't tell everyone because you're going to get a different answer and cause your response to be longer. And people are going to add additional weight onto your decision by did you think of this or why are you doing that? So you really need to meditate on it and make
uh-huh.
sure it's a good decision for you and also evaluate what the consequences would be.
Yep.
And if you can
Right,
handle the consequences, that's really what it's about. If you can handle the consequences, and then it doesn't work out exactly as you want it, you can look at what happened, analyze it, reframe it, and start all over again and be successful.
right,
So, uh,
right, right. It's like when you were saying that, what was running through my mind is a process that I've used, and sometimes it's formal, sometimes it's informal. Is the old pros and cons list. And when asked this question, I have suggested this to many, many people. It's like take out a piece of paper, something you can see, feel, and touch sometimes is better than doing it on your phone. And write down the pros and the cons of each side of the decision and the choice that you're trying to make. And when one side starts to outweigh the other side, then maybe that's a sign that you should either go this way or that way. And then too, I so agree with what you're saying. Really think about the consequences of your decision? Who does it impact? Is it just you? It rarely is. It rarely is, unless your decision is, should I go downstairs and eat that third donut? You know, that might only affect you. However, um, most of the time, our decisions, I hate to use a qualifier, but a lot of times our decisions affect other people. And maybe your children, it may be your family, it may be some close friends or a spouse, significant other. Um, think hard about the impact of your decisions. And if your pros outweigh the cons, then you might need to go in that direction. Or if your cons outweigh the pros, then you might need to go in that direction. Or put it aside, come back to it. Come back to it. Keep
Yeah, and one thing,
reworking your decision until you're very comfortable with whatever it is you decide to do. So other than that, that's, what's that? Just some general
just,
information on
yeah,
our
just
part.
one more piece to go with that
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
it's okay not to make a decision.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
You don't have to make a decision.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes we feel like we have to make a decision one way or the other when we really don't have to,
Oh
or the
my,
time is not right. So
oh my gosh.
test all the waters.
I tell you, if you ask anybody in my family, especially these grandchildren of mine, they will tell you whenever they approach me and ask me, Nana, what do you think about this? Or I'm thinking about this, or blah, whatever their thing is they're wrestling with. And what you just said is what I tell them lots of times. I said, you know what? Sometimes the toughest part of making a decision is actually making a decision, is making that choice to make a decision. And so when I first started telling them that, they would ponder it back and forth, back and forth. And just sometimes the relief that I've made a decision, it is so freeing that, I think we forget about that part of the whole decision-making process. Sometimes the toughest thing is, I have to make a decision about this.
Mhm.
So
You really
yeah, I'm
don't.
glad you reminded me that is, see, I don't even think about it as decision making because it's just such a part of our family conversation when someone approaches me with a decision. I'll share this quick story. Back when my granddaughter was back at an HBCU back east, right out of high school, it really was not the best choice of school for her. It was, I think, the school that she thought she wanted to go to, and it was definitely the school that I wanted her to go to and her mom wanted her to go to because we didn't have that Black college experience. And so we were just so excited that she had decided to attend one of those schools. But she had difficulty. She had difficulty almost from the first week. And so she made it through her first year. Her grades were mediocre and she wanted to leave. She wanted to transfer. She wanted to leave. And so I convinced her to at least give it one more year in hopes that, she'd be able to catch on and get with it, It just didn't happen. And I cannot tell you all the conversations, late night, early morning conversations we had in her going back and forth, back and forth. And I finally just said, you know what, the toughest thing about this is going to be deciding to make a decision. And it was almost like once she got that piece, she went ahead, made her decision to transfer, and we were able to get her, into her second choice school back on the West Coast, and she never looked back. So I'm glad you said that because it did bring up that story for me, and also that saying that I kind of have, they call it decision mantra, here. Whatever I say, well, the toughest thing is actually deciding to make a decision. So I don't want to go on too much longer about that, but I agree with you. Absolutely. It is actually deciding to make a decision. So our next one here is listen to this. It says, when is the time you had to face a significant fear, and how did things turn out? Wow. When is the time you had to face a significant fear, and how did things turn out?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, there's fear and there's fear.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know that well, when I think about it, I probably rather not talk about like any, um, well, you know what? Hey, this is questions, so we should put anything off limits. We've talked about almost everything else, and as we will continue to talk about almost everything else. Significant fear. You want to come back to that one?
Yeah, because that's a heavy one. That's a heavy one for me. So I
Yeah,
have to
yeah. And I'm
kind of
trying
sort out the shorter
and I'm trying
stories.
to keep it a little, I'm trying to keep it a little light here, and maybe I
Yeah,
should.
yeah,
Maybe I
yeah.
should. Maybe I
No,
should.
that's okay. I
We'll
mean,
come back.
we're human. We're talking about our lived experience, and um, I'll go ahead and answer it. I think, whoa, um, living in an environment of DV, um, where you're afraid all the time, um, constantly, even when the person's not there. When you're just you hear a sound and you jump in. That is just not a life to leave it. I don't wish that on any woman or man
Mhm,
to be in that kind of circumstances. And I think the thing that is that I made a choice to be in a situation. I didn't know I was going to wind up in that kind of situation, but some other factors played into me getting into this situation, which had I really had my blinders up, I would have like ran,
mhm.
but I didn't.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
and I stayed longer than I should have stayed,
yeah.
but I was fortunate enough that I did put a plan in action to get out. And a lot of women or men don't have that opportunity.
Yes, yeah.
But the day that I executed my plan, uh, required me to uh, kind of go outside the life that I had created to protect myself.
Hmm.
And that's what I did to get away.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
and I don't regret it at all. That was a decision I made. In the planning, it was very difficult um, because I think the person suspected something but couldn't really figure out what I was doing. So I was very careful. But um, anyway, so I understand where when women say or men say that, I couldn't get out. I didn't have anywhere to go.
hmm, hmm.
I didn't have anybody to turn to.
Yeah,
Fortunately, I did, and and that's why I have a special place in my heart for women who are going through that, and I try to help them as much as I possibly can.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so that was the biggest fear thing, because you would think that where I was in life as far as professionally, and that wouldn't be happening to me. But I'm here to tell you happens to everybody, anybody in any profession, in any economic status. So,
absolutely. And that is so common to think what we think. Oh, that's not, oh, she couldn't possibly be in this
mhm,
situation. She's too smart or she has too many resources. There are just, it's such a complex issue. Um, and it is very um, hard, to understand and even harder
yeah,
um, to to get out of, find help,
yeah.
even even talk about, even talk about.
Again, you got to talk to the right people. So,
Right. Yes, absolutely. 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 I think of course, as you're answering the question, I have a chance to, even though I'm listening and paying attention to what you're saying, I think my other brain is working on examples of significant fear. Um, I have a sincere, deep rooted fear of drowning and the water. Now I know all you know mental health types out there will say, "Oh, we can fix that." Um, in thinking about this question, it uh, it just raised a time when I thought my son had drowned.
mm,
He was a little kid, and they were down at the neighborhood school pool, which is what they used to do every summer when we lived in Sacramento. Every summer in the heat, the neighborhood kids would go to the neighborhood pool, and there was lifeguard, and some parents would be present. But this just happened to be a day that I didn't go, and it's hard to explain how you can, as a mom, as a mother, you can just sense that something has gone wrong, even before the phone rings or even before uh you know what's gone on. Your
yeah,
body somehow just senses that something has happened. And it was a situation like that where I heard the ambulance wailing, and I just had this feeling that something's not right, something's wrong, something's about to happen. I don't know where it came from. And then the phone rang, and it was paralyzing fear. I mean, not able to move kind of fear that something had happened to one of my children. And so the good news is that he was fine. They were able to pump water out of him, but he had gotten off in a deep end of the pool and playing around and had lost his footing. And so everybody jumped into action, and he was fine. And of course, after that, they went through I don't know how many series of swimming lessons until they became very good swimmers, both of them. But I never did. I never did. And I just still to this day have a significant fear of swimming and drowning and the water. Not that I don't love a beach vacation, because that is my favorite vacation. However, I will only go so far. I will only go so far. And things did turn out positively in that respect, but it didn't do anything to help me deal with this tremendous fear that I have and still have of swimming and drowning and all of that stuff connected with water. So, a couple of different kinds of examples. I think about don't you think about sometimes just when you think about fear, It's like
Mhm.
sometimes you get in the car and, or at least I do, I get in the car or I hear something on the news
Yeah,
and
the news. Yeah.
and it brings up some real fear, you know, in me. And those are things sometimes we don't have a lot of hardly any control over because you can only control what you do, what your actions are, where you go, where you park your car, whether you're walking down a dark street or whatever. You can control those things. But there's so many things that we just don't have control over. And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like those are the scariest things of all. Um,
Yeah, it is.
scariest things of all. You know, like we all just went through COVID. Talk about that was,
Yeah.
you know, pure fear. And fortunately, for my family and for my close friends, you know, most of us made it through that. But we're all scarred by that. We're all scarred by that. And if that wasn't a significant fear, you know, I don't know what was or is because I think COVID's still living with us.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be with us forever. So,
We just have some medicine to help us control it.
yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. So, dear Nanas, where do you find inspiration for your creative endeavors? We have creative endeavors. It's like, how do you overcome creative blocks? How do we overcome our when we can't figure out I don't know if we've gotten to the point where we're you know because we are still very new in the podcast, so we have pages and pages of things to talk about, topics. I don't know if we're quite
Well, I think that if we look at it from we're two different individuals with two different life experiences, so
uh,
our perspectives on certain things could be a little bit different, and we talk through that. We
yeah,
talk through that,
yeah,
and I'll share my experience, you'll share yours, and then we'll say, okay, this is how the content should be most appealing to the audience.
mhm,
So we spend a lot of time talking, um, deep stuff.
yeah,
Sometimes, but it takes that to really pull out all that, the stuff that has happened, and
yeah,
also to capture some stuff that there's some anger, there's some bitterness
hmm,
about around it that we want to temper.
yeah,
We want to be authentic and let you know that you know it has happened, but
mhm,
you don't need to hear all the stuff that all the garbage, and that's not what the podcast is for. It's for learning, and,
right.
and that's what we do. We do a lot of communication, a
Mhm.
lot, and I'm fortunate that I have Joanne to to just that we can just bounce off each other. That is a unique opportunity that is not always afforded to business partners. So,
Yeah, it does help when you're working with well, like in our case, I think it's a positive thing. I think it
right.
is a help when you've got a partner that you, like you said, can bounce ideas off. And we come up with some things, and sometimes we have to laugh. And sometimes it's like, well, I don't know if we want to quite talk about that one yet or not. Um, yeah, that does, yeah, I absolutely agree. It does help when you've got someone to kind of throw ideas up and or throw stuff against the wall and see. Do we think, is that workable? Or you think anybody might be interested in hearing about, whatever it is we're talking about? I would like to throw in one thing though. Sometimes when I'm stuck with anything, not necessarily Wise Black Nanas, but just kind of stuck in a place, and it is around a creative kind of venture. I like to walk. I like to walk. And I'm very fortunate that I live in a place where there's some beautiful trails and there's a lot of nature. And when I lived in Florida, I used to walk and just admire all the greenery and all the plants and flowers that were growing wild there. And somehow my mind seems to do its whatever it does, and I get, it seems clearer. It seems to I seem to be able to I don't want to say unblock, but I seem to be able to push through whatever it is I'm thinking about. Ideas get to flowing. And I almost always have a little piece of paper or pen with me or whatever to jot keywords down. But that helps me a lot, getting out in nature, even in inclement weather, and just walking a little bit and just really only focusing on what's around me. And I seem to be able to move through it. So I think there are many ways. These are just, some things that we do. We find inspiration. We find inspiration everywhere, don't we?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
We find inspiration everywhere. And I think, our maturity has a lot to do with it because and we also don't take ourselves so serious that everything has to be absolutely perfect, or we just don't. We just don't. We've done that a lot, and we did not want, especially this podcast, to be so serious that we couldn't fluff up a word, or we couldn't
Right.
have a gaffe here or there. And we've asked our producer, don't take out all of the, the little things that aren't exactly perfect, because that's who we are. We're not perfect. And so we find inspiration in a lot of things. Our grandkids, our great grandkids, um, they
Oh
provide
yeah.
they provide a lot of material for these programs, and our friends are always giving ideas and suggestions. So we have a lot of ways to, I guess, keep our creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
So just hopefully you've heard something that can help you. Um, you were gonna say something.
Uh-uh. No. Okay.
Okay. And then I don't want to, this is my last thing on this on this. I know it's kind of hard for me to have a last thing to say, but there's again all the material and all that stuff. We're not overlooking all the resources and the millions of books and pamphlets and workbooks and all that stuff that's out there around, getting unblocked. So we're not in any way diminishing any of that stuff. We're just talking about, just some of the everyday common sense stuff that doesn't cost anything. It's just what we do as we try to move. Okay, let's see. Here's one that is a question for the Wise Black Nanas. Let's see. I'm going through a big life transition right now, and I'm finding it pretty overwhelming. Can you share a big transition that you went through that you found difficult, and what helped you navigate it? Wow, we've had so many. we, I feel like, wow,
That's the thing about being mature.
I know that's the thing about reaching a certain age, where you really have had a lot of transitions. Man, wow. Let's see. Well, Dr. Charlie, you want to take this?
Sure. I was just
Sure.
waiting to see if you wanted to go. I think my biggest transition, and I'm still, well, not so much now adjusting to it. My biggest transition that was scary
Hmm.
was retirement and
Yeah.
moving to a different state. Uh, um, I wanted to be with my family that was here, and excuse me, and knew that it was ridiculous for me to think that they could even afford to live in California. I mean, with the house they have here, they would have to pay over $1 million for.
Yeah.
So, I just decided that um, I can make the move. It's just one of me. Well, two with my grandson too. Um, one of me, and it was scary. I mean,
Yeah.
I did all the motions and everything, put the house up for sale, which was a blessing. Um, and I never, once I made the decision, I never looked back, never regretted. It was a good thing. It was a good thing. I was happy. Everybody was happy.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
the thing that was a little that's off still a little bit now is the fact that I'm retired, so I
Hmm.
don't get a paycheck.
Yes, that's a big transition.
So I will get a paycheck every other Friday
Yeah.
or whatever. And that that was not that was an adjustment. I mean, to sell the house and all that provided me with enough cushion to I didn't have to work. But I knew one thing, I didn't want to work in Texas
Hmm.
in HR.
Hmm.
I just knew I didn't want to do that. So
Yeah, that would
um,
be a bigger
yeah.
challenge.
Um,
Yes.
So I didn't want to work anymore. I have been working over 50 years. And it's just like, okay, it is time. It's time. I was tired. I was just really not tired of the job, but tired of the everyday same old situations and issues
Right. Right.
and arguments and politics. And it's like, I don't need to do this.
Right.
And I think that's the like came on. I didn't need to do it.
Hmm.
It was scary. It was really scary.
Oh
But
yeah.
my commitment was that I would retire, not have a mortgage, not have a car payment, and that's exactly what I did. Because
Wow.
I knew that I wouldn't be if I didn't, I would have to work, and I did not want to work in the state of Texas. I know that's terrible, but I
Right.
did not. And I
Well,
worked.
it's only terrible if you say it is.
So needless to say, everything it worked out fine. Right now I'm going through some health issues and stuff like that, but that's gonna be all right too. But at least I'm with family and
Yes. Yes.
uh, so it was
Yeah.
scary, very scary, but you know, I'm here now and we're all happy.
Wow. Terrific. Terrific. And yes, you have a lot of support from not just family, but many friends uh,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
the other half of Wise Black Nanas, everybody's pulling
Yeah.
for you and so yeah, you've got lots of support in a lot of corners, a lot of corners. Well, my big transition also it involves a move. Actually, it involves two moves. So, um, and there are many circumstances around both of them, but my transition uh, involved moving from California to Central Florida. And then after a few years, and of course in the middle of COVID, and many of you have heard this story before, I moved back to California to help my granddaughter with her family in their working situation during COVID. The thing that helped me navigate both of those big, huge moves, because like you, it involves selling property in California and moving, to a place which at that time was more reasonable to live. Involved all kind of family decisions, relationship decisions, all kinds of things. I think the thing that helped me navigate all that stuff was I probably overplanned. I overplanned. I was so exact in just trying to figure out every possible thing that could go wrong. I had a response, I had an answer to it. So I think when you're planning a transition like that, whether it's retirement, whether it's making a move cross country or to another location or going back to school, you really have to make sure that you overplan it, overplan it and consider everything that you possibly can consider. And of course, nothing ever works out exactly the way that you planned it. So you need a backup plan. You need a backup plan for when the car breaks down and you hadn't figured on that. Or the house that you thought were going to lease, that didn't come through. So you always have to have somewhat of a backup plan. And I had the tremendous support of my family, both here and in Florida, at the same time. So I had a lot of support and a lot of ideas and suggestions and opinions that were offered. And so you get all of that stuff, you take it in, and then you figure out, okay, what is it I want to do? And then how do I need to do this? And so then you start, I am a habitual list maker also. So I start with my list and I recheck and recheck and recheck. And I'm sure today's young people probably have an app that does all that for you. But it's nothing like taking pen to paper sometimes and making lists of things you need to get accomplished and things that you need to do. So just for me, just being really organized, having supportive friends and family in place, knowing what you're going to be doing, and just checking out, investigating everything you can around it. I can't emphasize that enough, especially when you're moving to, when it involves moving to an area that perhaps you haven't lived before, or maybe you haven't lived there as an adult. Um, it's very, very different than someplace you've lived, maybe as a young person or as a child. And you go back to that place. Sometimes we call it going home. And there's a thing that you can never go home again. It's it's a little similar to that, at least for me, but not but. And I will always look, to those experiences that I had. It's just that um, living in that part of the country just didn't work for me during that time. And I know with all of the things going on there now, it certainly wouldn't work for me now. So that was, gosh, that's probably one of the biggest transitions that I have, where it only affected me. It only affected me from a standpoint of I was the only one that was making the move. Yeah, it affected my family in other ways, but I was the actual one that was doing the move. So huge, huge transitions for me. But you can do it and survive, and better than
Yes, you
surviving,
can. Yes, you
you will
can. There's
thrive,
always
right?
gold at the end of the rainbow.
You absolutely will thrive. So don't be afraid to if you're going through a big life transition, don't be afraid to step out there. Just do your homework. Do your homework, do your planning. If it involves, financial issues or whatever, have that stuff shored up, because that is huge, huge in almost any type of transition, especially what we consider as those big life transitions. Uh,
Hmm.
and it's okay to feel overwhelming. I mean, it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It just comes with the territory, but you definitely can work through it. This is a but you can work through it and
Absolutely.
come out on the other side. Dr. Charlotte, what about a cause that's particularly close to your heart? This listener is asking us if we could share a cause. And why is that cause important to us?
Um, I think for me, I really have always wanted and supported young Black um, women, young mothers, single mothers, because I was a single mother, a
Mhm.
young single mother.
Yes, yeah.
And just, from the perspective of letting them know that just because you have a child or you have children, you still can set goals and you can still reach them.
Oh my gosh,
Just
absolutely.
and you need to identify, or sometimes they need help identifying what resources they need, childcare or whatever, to help them, get to school on
Right,
time
right.
or have the after school care or whatever. So it's always that's always kind of been my, underlying passion when I see a young woman, really struggling and reaching
Mhm.
out to her and just, asking how can I help? And not I don't want anything reward because I know um, how difficult it was for me after my grandparent and my great grandmother passed. It wasn't the same. So, uh, and it just does something to, and when they stay with you or you stay with them and you see them complete, goals and success and they thank you for it. And
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
all I want. I mean, if even if they didn't say thank you, it's just like the idea like I had a part in their growth.
yep, yeah.
Uh, and when I was teaching a lot uh, in the Oakland campus in California, there were a lot of young students, and I had the opportunity to really get to know them on a different level besides students.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and it was rewarding. So,
Very much so.
yeah.
Very much so. Well, I have I mean I have several, some I'm actively involved in, some I'm more passively involved in. I just think we've got so much going on in the world right now. I can't solve the world's uh, issues, or the country's issues. I do know that if we don't get involved politically, um, actively, whether it's out there marching or donating money or writing postcards or making phone calls. We have got to do everything that we can to save the strides that we have made as a people. And if we don't teach our young kids coming up in our family, um, the Black struggle, about civil rights, about the way this country was not so long ago, we are going to lose, continue to lose so very much. So I am, kind of a passive activist. I don't know if that is such a thing. I just know that I take every opportunity to talk to young people, whether it's one-on-one or a group, about the importance of voting, about how things weren't always like this, and how one vote does make a difference. So, I'd say during this time, which we are headed into a very fiery political season, for me, it has to be, kind of hanging on to the rights that we have earned and gained as a people, and that we have a responsibility to teach that, to our younger ones coming along. And it's important to me because I grew up in the segregated South. Uh, I know what it was like, before. And I also have had, a taste of what it's like to have the opportunity to attend school or to work in certain industries. Whereas when I was a, girl growing up, I could not even imagine some of the things that I see, our young people able to participate in and be involved in today. And those things all came about because people died for those, for the right to just go to the ballot box. So that is without a doubt, and it will be my cause even through the election until I don't have a voice any longer. Because I really do think our generation has been a little too quiet, a little too maybe complacent with the gains that we have made, and we've not done a good job passing the story of the struggle onto our kids. So I know that's a little bit of a soapbox, but listener, you asked, and I just wanted to share that is what is the closest to my heart at this particular time. Dr. Sharla, any more comments?
No, I think you hit it pretty much on the head with the political stuff. It is just so interesting that um, my grandchildren don't value voting, and I'm trying very hard to change that,
Yes, please.
really change it, because they don't think it makes a difference, but
Yes.
they will.
Well, and it is up to us to show them. We've I don't know if we had a formal agreement or not, but we weren't going to turn this so much into, a political show. And God knows there's probably enough to do it. But I think we had decided, okay, well, there's some things we're going to hold a little closer. But it is, and this is a but. It is hard when you do have even a small platform, like we have, not to, because there's just so much going on, and we are at a danger point. So this may not have been the intent of this question around, sharing a cause. But if we continue to lose some of the rights that we have gained over the years, um, I'm not so sure what will happen. I'm not so sure what will happen. So please stress the importance of, every vote does count, to your grandchildren and their friends, so that we don't lose any more of what we've gained. And when I say we, I speak we as a community, um,
Right.
that we don't, or as a people, or as women, don't lose any more than we have already lost. So if there's a way that you can make it real, for them and have them see the before and the after, then definitely don't give up on that. Don't give up on that. Uh, so any other questions you want to go back and that you want to go back and add anything to?
No, I think that we kind of dug in deep and gave them a lot of stuff to think about and to
Hope
respond to
so.
your more questions.
I hope so. I hope so. So, okay, so that ends this section of Ask the Nanas. Again, we want to thank you for support of our podcast, and hope that you gained even one insight or heard something that inspires you to learn more, to do something, but most importantly, to take some action. So as we always say, we know this podcast is not for everybody, and it is for a lot of somebodies. And our Nanaism that we want to leave you with today again is from Roy T. Bennett. Be brave and take risks. You need to have faith in yourself. So be brave and take risks. You do not need to have it all figured out to move forward. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Wise Black Nanas. New programs of Wise Black Nanas are on the 1st and 15th of each month. Listen in as you learn more about Wise Black Nanas, Dr. Sharla Walker and Joanne Early. They are everyday nanas. They are not famous, not celebrities or rich, well, rich in life and its experiences. We want you to come back. Tell your friends. So, look for Wise Black Nanas podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Learn more about them and the coaching services they offer at www.wiseblacknanas.com.